Hey guys, Morgan's Maintenance. Today's tool review is going to be a couple products from the brand WORKPro. Now these are the first couple tools of theirs that I purchased. Several of you have suggested their screwdrivers and different things to me. Now they're all over Amazon. I don't know if that's the only place they're sold or not. I'm not real sure about that. But I picked up their oil filter wrenches here. Got those on sale. They're on sale still right now on a Black Friday deal. It's just a few bucks cheaper, which has been the case on most of the Amazon deals that I've been looking at anyways. It's not like it's been significant. And then I picked up their caulk gun. I actually got this on a lightning deal. Again, only saved a few bucks compared to regular price. So if either of these are something that interests you and they're not on sale, it's not like you're only going to pay a few more dollars than what I paid for them. And I'm really happy with one of them, and I'm not so happy with the other. And I'll explain all that as we get into these. I am going to be wearing gloves today in case you're wondering why. I have a pretty good cut right here on my finger. I actually wore a Band-Aid in my Kaiweets video, and as I was editing and watching that back, I thought, man, that looks gross. So that's the only reason why I'm wearing gloves today. So just in case you were curious about that. But let's go ahead and get into these tools. So first, let's start off with the oil filter wrenches. It's a two-piece set. You get a 9-inch and also a 12-inch. They are going to normally run you about $18, but again, these are on sale still right now as I'm making this video. Now again, I don't know how long they'll be on sale for. It's a Black Friday deal. I got these for $14 and I think 39 cents, something along those lines. And again, they're probably really good for changing oil filters. That's not what I'm going to use them for. As I've mentioned many times on this channel, this is a strainer basket type tool for plumbing, and I just really don't like it. I don't like the size of it. You know, it's just really big. It doesn't work real well for the most part. And many of you suggested to me in a plumbing video where I talked about tools I use under the sink. I said I'd like to have something to replace this. If you all have any suggestions, several of you mentioned to me an oil filter wrench that you use it and it works well for you, because there's two reasons I don't like this. I don't like the size. It doesn't also really work very well, but the biggest reason is if I'm going into a place to do a repair and I just need to tighten up a strainer basket or something like that, this right here, since it's solid, there's no way for me to get that onto that strainer basket without me absolutely taking everything 100% apart. As you can see here, you know, it's just not going to work. I'm not going to be able to get to that strainer nut without taking the entire P-trap assembly apart, whatever it is, which if it's a one that I can take apart easy, that's fine. Sometimes they're glued in, and then that turns into a big ordeal, because sometimes all I need to do is loosen it up, reapply new plumber's putty or something like that, tighten the thing back down. So that's why, another reason why I just don't really like this. It just doesn't work real well. Well, you can see here on the 9-inch, these grip on to the strainer basket if you just open them up pretty much almost to the farthest point. And if I take this even and you overlay it kind of over here, you can kind of see I can get my teeth right there on that nub, and that nub there kind of lines up with different nubs depending upon how you do it. So the shorter one, you can get a hold of it and get some grip, especially if it's tight space underneath that sink. That is going to work well, because that's another reason why I'm kind of making this video. People had mentioned to me about getting it, and then I saw there was a 9-inch size, a 12-inch size. I was like, well, I wonder which one would work the best, because sometimes like Channel Lock has some, other brands have some, but they only sell them in one, which with this one I got both. Another reason why I pulled the trigger, the 12-inch one, I mean, it will work pretty much going all the way around half the strainer basket in most locations. So you can see as I put that up on there, you're not going to have any problem fitting this around the strainer basket. And as long as you've got room for that handle, which it's still a smaller tool altogether than this thing, even though it's kind of close to the same, but it's just easier for me to get at it with these than it's going to be with this. And more than anything, I can now go in there and use this in a kind of repair situation instead of a new install. And if that P-trap is 100% glued together, I can get to that nut and loosen it and tighten it using this without having to take anything apart. So overall, I think it's going to be a good fit for me. I mean, and for 14 bucks to get both pairs, or even 18 if they're not on sale anymore, I think that's a good price myself as well. So again, if you do a lot of strainer baskets, or if you do oil filter changes, I've just never had a pair of these for oil filters because I don't have a lot of problem. It doesn't seem like getting the oil filters off whenever I need to, but maybe you're going behind somebody else that just tightened the fire out of one. I don't know. But I think they're going to work maybe even for some other things that I haven't even thought of yet. But it's just a nice set of pliers to have on hand for certain things that might come up. But I think it's going to work way better than that tool, so I'm glad to have these. I'm still interested if anybody has any other suggestions for strainer basket tools besides one of those type, and maybe even this. drop that in the comments below. Or if you have these two pliers and you use them for other things, or if you use them on oil filters, let us know that in the comments below, that you use them for what they're actually intended for and they work real well for that. Drop that down below in case somebody's looking for that information as well. But that's the oil filter wrenches, again the 9-inch and the 12-inch. Let's go ahead now and look at that caulk gun. So this is their caulk gun, and this is normal price, going to run you $21, which is probably what it is right now. Again, I'll put a link down in the description. You can check and see if it's maybe on sale again, but I got it on a lightning deal. So unlike the oil filter wrenches, which is just a Black Friday deal ongoing all the time, this one was a set amount of time that they had it for $17.99, I think is what I paid for it. So again, it's just a few dollars more. It isn't like I saved like half price or something like that. But as I saw this, and I think I actually came across this because I noticed a lot of the WORKPro stuff had Black Friday deal, so I just searched WORKPro on Amazon and was scrolling through, and that's when I just so happened to come across this when there was a lightning deal going on. And it's got a lot of neat features on it. It's about 15 inches from here to here, so it's kind of about the standard size caulk gun. Some people said it was heavy. I don't think it's real awful heavy. I don't know how much it weighs. I didn't have a real scale that I could put this thing on. But I don't think it's significantly any heavier than any other metal type caulk gun that I've normally carried that has kind of got this same kind of mechanisms and all those things. Now there's obviously cheap $2 or $4 or $5 ones that you can pick up at Lowe's. They're going to be a lot lighter than this one. It does have the WORKPro logo. Some of the nice features on it. It's got that spinning barrel, so if you need to move your nozzle tip to a different direction, you can do that. I always like that feature. It does have a poker, so you can pull that out and then poke your caulk tube to get it started if that's what you want to do. It's hard to do with these gloves on, but it comes out pretty easy. One of the knocks on it, on the reviews that I read, was that there's no cutter, and there's not. You can't cut a tube to get it started. It's not a big deal to me. I always cut mine with my knife because I like to make sure I get the angle that I want on it and get it cut at the right exact spot so I don't have a lot of flow going through if it's something that I want to keep. So I thought that was pretty nice. But then two of the nicest features that I saw on it, which is what made me buy it, was that it has an adjustable thrust ratio. You can see a H and a L there. So it has a 18:1 and then also a 9:1 thrust ratio that you can adjust. So you get both those thrust ratios out of this single caulk gun. And then it also has a drip and dripless feature where you can swap back and forth between whether or not you want to drip, which I don't know why you would, except for, again, maybe if you're putting out adhesives and you just don't want to make the caulk stop every time whenever you let go of the trigger or whatever it is. Or you can switch to dripless, which is kind of a little bit of a downer. As I show you this here in just a second, we'll show you that. But here's how you change those. You got that high and low. I'm in high right now because that's where this is close to the H. I can just push up on that, swap that over to low, and then basically my trigger, the amount of effort that I have, like that's really a whole lot less. So that's that higher thrust ratio. Doesn't take a lot of effort at all to pull that trigger, and then also I can swap over to that and it takes a little bit more effort to do so. So that actually does work. I'll show you that here in a minute. And then for the drip and the dripless, you have this feature right here where right now I'm on drip, but it says press down and you will have no drip. So if I press that down, it changes to where I'm supposed to be dripless. I'll show you that again here in just a minute. You can be the judge of that. I'm going to say that it's not dripless based upon some other caulk guns. Is it better than the opposite? And whenever I have it in this mode, absolutely. Is it dripless? I don't think so, but let me go ahead and show you some of those things. So I just have in some concrete, you know, mortar, filler, and sealant there. I'm going to put it on that low thrust ratio. And as I get to that, I'm on the drip feature right now. So I should be getting a drip. And if I push through that, you can see it will continue to come out non-stop. I don't have to even let go of the, I'm not pressing the trigger at all. That's just going to keep on pouring out. So I have all that happening. I'm going to go ahead and press this trigger now, let loose. I'm going to stop getting some of that adhesive and that filler coming out. Now let's swap over to dripless. So again, I've released the pressure on this. I'm even going to pull back on this a little bit so that we know that I'm starting from nothing. I'm going to press down. So now I'm supposed to be in dripless. I'm going to squeeze that trigger. It's going to take me a little bit to get back up to there. And as I squeeze that, let's say I laid out some of this adhesive here. I'm going to let go of that trigger. I'm not pushing the trigger at all. And you can see it's continuing to come out. Is it definitely coming out less than what it did on the drip kind with that before I changed it over to dripless? Yes, but is it dripless? I'm going to say no. Now, unless you consider that dripless in comparison, because again, in comparison, if I swap that back over and then I press on that, it's going to come out extremely fast. I mean, it just pours it to it. So it is a whole lot better when you press the dripless, but it's still not going to be dripless in my opinion. So that's the dripless feature. Now again, I can change from high to low thrust. The high thrust, it's not going to put out as much per squeeze. So if I'm on this here, I'm not getting near as much per squeeze. Versus if I swap that over to low thrust, and then I start squeezing, I'm getting a lot more out with per squeeze. So yeah, guys, that's the WORKPro 9 and 12 inch oil filter wrenches. I'm really glad I bought those. I think they're going to work well as a replacement for my strainer basket wrench. And then on top of that, I'll get to use them for probably some other things as well. The Caulk Gun for $21, I'm not going to say it's a bad Caulk Gun. I like all that thrust ratio changes. And the drip free is, or dripless is better than the drip version. It is definitely doing something, but I'm not going to consider that dripless. I've had some dripless Caulk Guns out there that absolutely every time you let go of it, you get zero extra material coming out. Now sometimes you'll have a caulk tube under pressure and it makes it to where it will still do it somewhat, but I changed over to the Power Grab. I've changed over to Big Stretch. No matter what I used, I kind of got the same results, so I don't think it's necessarily anything to do with that. So that's up to you whether or not you think. I still think the features on it makes it a decent price. It's not a bad price for the Caulk Gun, but if you're expecting dripless, mine's not. But let me know in the comments below. Maybe you've been running this Caulk Gun for quite some time. I've got caulk all over my gloves here. I've also got some that came out of the back side of that tube in this Caulk Gun. I just now noticed that. But let me know below if you've had this Caulk Gun and you've tried it and your dripless feature actually works. Maybe I just got one that's not working in the way that it's supposed to. That could also happen. So let us know that in the comments below. But I hope this is useful. You guys stay safe. Have a blessed day. And I'll see you on the next video.